Welcome back to Engineering Mechanics, for which we are now starting a new part, and we call this part the race because everything that we have done before was effectively a warm-up, since it is content you should have been familiar with before. We did the warm-up, however, because it's always good to have a common baseline. But now it's time to tackle the race and to really look at structural systems like engineers do. So far, we mostly dealt with physics, and physics, of course, is the base for what we're going to do here in the race too. But we now have to talk about how engineers define structural systems and how they deal with them. Therefore, the pace of the class will pick up a little bit. Don't get me wrong, we of course continue to consecutively explain the terms to you, and we also give you consecutive problem statements that you can grow with the problems here in this class. But the name for this part here is not something that I came up with to begin with. It's something that the students gave me as a feedback, because they were telling me that I should signalize to the students that this is really where the effort in the class lies, and that this is significantly more in depth than the material that they have seen before. Of course, everything is easy once you know it, but that is exactly why we call it the race that we now need to go into, because we will not see content that you have dealt with before, most likely, and we need to learn some new concepts. Of course, the mathematics will stay very simple. We try to use very simple numbers, but it is my experience in the classroom that sometimes students struggle with the definition of the concepts and so on. But if you consecutively pay attention and you already picked up to this point here, then it should be a walk in the park for you, as long as we don't let anything slide. So based on student feedback from previous classes, this is my, I don't want to call it a warning because there's nothing that I need to warn you about in this class, but here's my word of caution that this is the part of the class that really requires some new thinking and some new approaches to these concepts that we will show you. And this is particularly important because we will move forward with assuming that everything we learned in the previous lecture is available for the following lecture. So I put a lot of effort into really consecutively building this up rather than just throwing topics at you. So there is a structure here, but therefore it's much more important that you really stay on top of your game and you stay with the content of the class. So what I'm trying to tell you is, don't move on to the next lecture if you still have a question mark somewhere about the previous lecture. So this is really designed to get you through the race and to make sure that you are able to reach your goals of this class. So with that said, I think we're ready to tackle the race now, and let's get ready to have some fun and start our brand new topics of what I would call true engineering mechanics.